Okay, have you ever maybe paused while making your comp and wondered if your oat milk latte is, I don't know, secretly plotting against your health? Or maybe if your unwashed sheets are hosting some kind of microscopic rave?
Probably more often than we'd like to admit.
That Well, you've landed in the right spot. Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission here is to, cut through all that information clutter, really dive into the sources, and pull out the key insights you need. Quick, clear, essential.
Mm-hmm.
So today we're doing a deep dive into the consumers.app news commentary. We're looking at the snapshot from Joel 07-foot 2025, some really fascinating consumer trends and developments in there.
Yeah, there's quite a mix.
Definitely. We're covering a huge range of stuff that impacts your daily life, from what you eat, how you sleep, even, how your body changes over time. So let's get into it. Let's unpack what these sources are telling us.
Sounds good.
All right, kicking this off, we've got a headline from Rolling Out. It's pretty direct. 8 dangerous ways rapid weight loss can harm your heart. I mean, that makes you stop and think, right?
Hey, what are the real sort of hidden dangers when you drop pounds too fast?
It really does. And it's striking how quickly the body reacts to these, drastic changes. Rapid weight loss, it can genuinely lead to some severe cardiovascular problems.
Like what specifically?
Well, things like arrhythmias, erratic heart rhythms, even heart palpitations. And in some more extreme cases, it can actually increase the risk of heart attacks.
Wow.
Yeah. See, when you lose body mass that quickly, it puts this immense stress on the heart and the whole circulatory system. Often it's because you're depleting crucial electrolytes or creating these significant nutrient deficiencies. The heart just doesn't have what it needs to function properly.
That's, it's serious. And what about the long run? We hear a lot about yo-yo dieting, that weight cycling thing. How does that continuous up and down actually affect heart health over time? Right, the yo-yo effect. So if you connect this to the bigger picture, weight cycling, these repeated cycles of losing weight then gaining it back, it significantly boosts the risk of coronary heart disease down the line.
How so?
Well, think about the stress. Each time you cycle, it tends to increase blood pressure, raise your resting heart rate, and it contributes to chronic inflammation throughout the body. All of those things are, they're really detrimental to your heart health long term.
Okay. So if rapid weight loss is risky and yo-yo dieting is bad, what about things like bariatric surgery? It's often talked about as a solution for severe obesity. Are there catches? What are the caveats we need to get?
That's a really important question. Bariatric surgery, it definitely can offer substantial benefits. It can be great for managing severe obesity, and it often dramatically improves heart health by tackling risk factors like high blood pressure and type 2 diabetes.
Right.
But it's not, a magic bullet. There are real risks. Nutrient deficiencies after surgery are a big one, and potential surgical complications. These are critical issues that need really careful, rigorous management by professionals. Without that close follow-up, the heart health benefits you're aiming for could actually be undermined.
It really makes you wary of quick fixes.
Yeah.
So what's the main takeaway then? If someone listening is thinking about losing weight, what's a crucial thing to remember for their heart?
Well, it's not just about willpower, right? Health organizations, they consistently stress losing no more than maybe 1 to 2 pounds a week. And that's not just for making it stick. It's because losing weight too fast can literally starve your heart of those vital electrolytes we mentioned. It can trigger potentially life-threatening arrhythmias.
Dangers people might not even consider.
Exactly. Dangers often overlooked when you're just focused on seeing the number on the scale drop quickly. Now, bariatric surgery, as we said, it's medically recommended in severe cases, but even then, careful professional monitoring is absolutely essential because of those inherent heart risks.
So slow and steady really does win the race here.
Absolutely. Long-term strategies like balanced nutrition, regular exercise, they are consistently shown to be far superior for maintaining good cardiovascular function.
Okay, that makes sense. So if you're thinking about shedding some pounds, what really stands out to you about doing it safely for your heart? Something to ponder.
Definitely.
All right, moving on. Our next headline, also from Rolling Out, is, it's intriguing. 6 miracle foods that reverse premature graying. Now, that's quite a claim. Yeah. Is there really a way to, eat your way back to your natural hair color? Or is this maybe a bit of wishful thinking?
Yeah, it sounds almost too good to be true, doesn't it? But it does raise an important point about the actual science behind hair color. Your hair shade, it's all down to two main types of melanin.
Melanin, right.
Yeah, you've got eumelanin that gives you black and brown hair, and pheomelanin, which is for red and yellow tones. It's the balance between these two that determines your specific color. And as we age, it's natural for the hair follicles to produce less melanin. That's what leads to gray hair. But it's not just aging. Genetics play a huge role, obviously, but so do environmental factors, lifestyle choices, like smoking, stress, even nutritional deficiencies can speed up the process.
So what's new in terms of, fighting the gray? Are there actual developments?
There are, actually. Science is looking into various ways to prevent or even treat graying. We're seeing things like topical treatments designed to stimulate melanin production, antioxidants, both topical and dietary supplements, and even something called low-level laser therapy, or LLT.
Laser therapy for gray hair?
Yeah, it's being explored. The idea is to sort of energize the follicles. And what's particularly interesting, maybe, is a study mentioned on pine needle essential oil, PNEO.
Pine needles?
Right. The research suggested PNEO might enhance melanin production, at least in lab cells, these B16F10 melanoma cells they use to mimic human melanin production. So it points towards a possible natural route, but, we definitely need more research before saying it works in humans.
Okay, so lab cells, not quite people yet. But what about the diet angle? You mentioned antioxidants. How much can what we eat really influence this compared to, say, lasers or special oils?
It's actually pretty significant. Dietary antioxidants are crucial. They help protect the hair follicles from something called oxidative stress.
Right. I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's basically damage from unstable molecules, and it can really deplete melanin levels. So eating foods rich in antioxidants, think colorful fruits, vegetables, leafy greens, that directly supports the body's ability to synthesize melanin.
And the lifestyle connection.
Absolutely key. Lifestyle choices like smoking, being under chronic stress, or having poor nutrition, these things definitely accelerate graying. Smoking introduces toxins, stress causes oxidative damage, and hormonal shifts. Poor nutrition means the follicles lack building blocks. It all impacts melanin production negatively.
Wow. It's quite powerful, isn't it? To think that something like gray hair, which many of us just see as, inevitable aging, is actually so closely linked to everyday choices. What we eat, how we live.
It really is. It gives you a sense of maybe a little more control than you thought.
Definitely something to think about. Okay, let's shift gears. A headline from phys.org, reported on msn.com, that might make you look differently at your groceries. Climate change linked to decline in nutritional quality of food. So the idea is, could climate change actually be making our food less nutritious, even if farmers are growing more of it?
It's a concerning link, and it really shows how these big global issues hit close to home, right on our dinner plates. The core issue is rising atmospheric CO2 levels.
The main driver of climate change.
Exactly. And what studies are showing is that higher CO2 actually reduces the concentration of essential micronutrients, things like zinc and iron in major staple crops. Wheat, rice, crops, billions rely on. And this happens even if the overall yield, the amount grown, goes up.
So more food, but less. Good stuff in it.
Essentially, yes. And the health implications could be pretty significant. We're talking about potential increases in micronutrient deficiencies, which can lead to problems like weakened immune systems, cognitive impairments. And this would hit vulnerable populations hardest, those who depend heavily on these staples.
That's quite alarming. So what can be done? Are there solutions being looked at? And how do our modern ways of eating, like all the online food delivery, kind of fit into this picture?
Well, researchers are definitely working on it. They're exploring strategies like developing more resilient crop varieties, using both traditional breeding methods and newer biotech approaches. They're also looking at optimizing farming practices, things like precision irrigation, better soil management to try and maintain nutrient levels despite the CO2 rise.
Okay, so work is being done on the supply side.
Right, but then you have the demand side and how we access food. The rise of online food delivery platforms, it's created what some researchers are actually calling cyberfood swamps.
Cyberfood swamps?
Yeah.
That sounds unpleasant.
It does. The idea is that these platforms have dramatically increased access to fast food, processed meals, often less nutritious options. And this seems particularly true for younger people and those in lower income groups. So it can kind of exacerbate these nutritional challenges by making the less healthy choice incredibly convenient, steering people away from, whole nutrient-dense foods.
Okay, this next connection seems a bit out there, but how do ecological factors, like, say, predators, fit into this whole picture of crop nutrition? It feels like a totally different world.
It does seem like a leap, doesn't it? but it's actually a fascinating example of ecological balance. In some ecosystems, having apex predators, the top predators, helps control populations of what are called mesopredators.
Mid-level predators.
Exactly. Think animals like baboons, perhaps, which are known to raid farmers' crops in certain areas. By keeping those mesopredator populations in check, the apex predators indirectly help reduce crop raiding.
Ah, I see. Less raiding means
Less damage to crops, potentially preserving both the yield and maybe even the nutritional integrity of what's harvested. It really highlights how biodiversity, maintaining that natural balance, is surprisingly important for agricultural sustainability and ultimately the quality of the food that reaches us. It's all connected.
it really is a complex web. So knowing all this, the CO2 effect, the delivery swamps, even the predators, what does this mean for you, the listener, when you're just trying to figure out what to eat each day? Lots to consider there. Okay, all right. Let's move to something maybe a bit more personal, something we all deal with but maybe don't talk about much.
Yeah.
Our beds. This headline from The Conversation UK via MSN.com asks, how often should you really be washing your bedding? A microbiologist explains. Now, be honest. Did that headline set a little shiver down your spine when was the last time you washed your sheets?
Oh.
Should we all be feeling a bit guilty?
Hey, you're probably not alone in that feeling. But it's not just about, feeling clean. Unwashed bedding, well, it becomes a haven for.
Stuff.
Like what kind of stuff?
Like what kind of stuff?
Well, sweat, dead skin cells, which we all shed constantly, dust mites. Remember dermatophagoids, tyrannusines?
Oh, yeah, the dust mites.
Plus a whole array of bacteria and fungi that just love that environment. Things that thrive on moisture and skin flakes. This buildup can really aggravate allergies, trigger asthma symptoms, and even make skin conditions like eczema worse. So keeping that sleep environment clean is genuinely crucial for your overall health and comfort. It's a key part of good sleep hygiene.
Okay, I'm convinced. So what's the magic number? How often do the experts, the microbiologists, say we should be washing them? And does it depend on things like climate or health issues?
The general recommendation from microbiologists is pretty consistent. Wash your bedding at least once a week.
Once a week, okay.
Yeah. Now, factors like living in a really humid or hot climate, that can mean you might need to wash them even more often just because mold and bacteria grow faster in those conditions. And definitely if you have allergies or asthma, sticking to that weekly wash is super important to minimize exposure to those triggers, dust mites, pollen that might get tracked in, pet dander, all that stuff.
Is there solid science behind that frequency?
Oh, yeah. Studies have shown that unwashed bedding can harbor really significant amounts of diverse microbial life after just 1 week. Bacteria, fungi, mites. They multiply pretty quickly.
Right. So besides just the throwing them in the wash, what else can we do? Are there other best practices for keeping bedding hygienic? A truly clean sleep zone.
Definitely. Washing weekly is key, but you can do more. Wash them in hot water if the fabric allows. That's more effective at killing mites and bacteria.
Yeah.
Using mattress protectors and pillow protectors adds a really useful barrier.
Ah, good point.
Regularly vacuuming your mattress itself can also help remove dust and allergens. And here's a simple one. Maybe let your bedding air out for a little while in the morning before you make the bed.
Just pull the duvet back for a bit.
Exactly. It helps reduce moisture that builds up overnight, making it less hospitable for those microscopic critters.
Okay, those are some practical tips. So, thinking about better sleep, maybe fewer sniffles? What's one thing about your own bedding routine that might change after hearing this? Something to mull over.
It certainly makes you think twice before hitting snooze on laundry day.
Doesn't it just? All right, final deep dive for today. Let's tackle a kitchen staple that's absolutely exploded in popularity. This headline's from Only They Are Health, and it warns of scary side effects of oat milk, Nutrition explains. Uh-oh. Is our beloved oat milk maybe not quite as innocent as it seems? Let's unpack this one.
Yeah, it's interesting how trends catch on and then we start looking closer, right? Oat milk is hugely popular, but like many things, daily or excessive consumption might have some potential downsides.
Okay, like what? What are the scary side effects?
Well, scary might be a strong word, but there are things to be aware of. One is potential gluten contamination. Oats themselves are gluten-free, but they're often processed in facilities that handle wheat, barley, rye. So cross-contamination can be an issue for people with celiac disease or serious gluten sensitivity.
Right, so you need to look for certified gluten-free if that's you.
Exactly. Another point is added ingredients in many commercial brands. To get that creamy texture and taste, manufacturers often add sugars and oils. These can bump up the calorie count and contribute to weight gain if you're drinking a lot of it.
Hidden sugars and fats.
Kind of. And then there's the concept of anti-nutrients, like phytic acid. Oats contain phytic acid, which in really high amounts can potentially interfere with the absorption of minerals like iron, zinc, calcium. Though for most people with a varied diet, this isn't usually a major concern.
Okay, but hold on. Isn't oat milk generally praised as a healthier choice than dairy, maybe more sustainable than almond milk? It feels like a bit of a contradiction.
Yeah, it absolutely is a paradox, you're right. And those points are valid too. Environmentally, oat milk generally scores well. Producing oats typically uses less land and significantly less water compared to dairy farming, and even compared to growing almonds, which are quite water intensive.
So it is more sustainable in many ways.
Yes, often considered so. And nutritionally, it does have benefits. Oats are a good source of dietary fiber, especially beta-glucans. Those are the soluble fibers known for helping to lower cholesterol levels.
That's a big play.
Definitely. And as you often see on the carton, many oat milks are fortified with essential vitamins and minerals like vitamin D, calcium, vitamin B12, which makes it a really useful alternative, especially for vegans or people with lactose intolerance. So yes, it genuinely does offer significant advantages.
So how did it get so huge so fast? And what should we, as shoppers, really be looking out for when we're standing in that massive non-dairy milk aisle?
Well, its market growth has been pretty explosive, really taking off from the 1990s onwards, but especially in the last decade or so. It was driven by the rising demand for vegan options, lactose-free alternatives, and people looking for more sustainable choices. Brands like Oatly really pushed it into the mainstream, especially in coffee shops.
The coffee shop effect.
Big time. But as consumers, the key is awareness. Realize that the nutritional profile can vary a lot between different brands. Really check the labels for added sugars and oils if those are concerns for you. And again, if gluten is an issue, make sure you're grabbing one that's explicitly certified gluten-free.
It's fascinating, isn't it? How something as seemingly simple as the milk you put in your coffee can have all these complex layers, health, environment, even global market trends, all wrapped up in that carton.
It really shows how interconnected everything is.
What an incredible range we've covered today, really. From thinking carefully about weight loss for your heart, the surprising science behind gray hair, to how climate change is actually altering our food, the microscopic world in our bedding.
Definitely cleaning my sheets tonight.
Me too.
Yeah.
And even dissecting the pros and cons of oat milk. It just highlights how our everyday lives are tangled up with these much bigger trends and scientific insights.
It really does.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We've been exploring the Consumers.app news commentary. Jewel, 07 foot, what do you see?
It was a pleasure.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Given everything we've discussed today, all these connections between daily choices, global trends, scientific findings, what's maybe one small change you might think about making just to better align your own habits with this deeper understanding of the world around you? Something to ponder.